My education and background before I got heavily into theater was in theology and religion, and so the idea of the spirit is an intriguing idea. Why is it that humanity came up with this idea somehow that we have a spirit inside of us? And to me, there is something that allows us to experience things together when we breathe the same air, when we are all inhaling and exhaling, and the stuff that's there is going back and forth between us. And I think that that's what allows a person sitting in an audience in the dark with 2,000 people or with 10 people watching something that makes them weep. Why does it make them weep? It's just people pretending. There's nothing real happening there, but it can make people weep, and it can make them laugh, and it can make them think, and sometimes it can even change their minds about things if you're really fortunate. But because we're able in that space, in that special set-aside space, to say to each other, okay, we're all going to breathe the same air, we're all going to experience the same thing together, and then when we step out of that space, we're going to take it with us. And when we take it with us, it becomes part of the larger community wherever we go. And I think as human beings, we have an absolute need to connect with each other, and that, to me, is a powerful way to make that connection. One of the things about being an artist in any context, and that I think I tried to instill in both of our sons, I think I tried to warn them about what this life is like. I think I tried to say, yeah, be careful, don't necessarily take this as something that is a given, because it's tough. It is a tough existence, and yet much of what I tried to do, particularly in the theater company that I ran, was working with people to help them see their own creativity, help them find their own voice. I wasn't teaching acting. I was doing creative workshops. I was doing residencies in schools and helping kids create little plays that they were going to do for their parents, and trying to find ways to help people, and adults, children, it didn't matter to me, help them see that they have a voice. Because I think that as a performer, as a storyteller, that is one of the things that I really enjoy and relish the most, is when I can have a voice to get across to people something that I think is really important. And so when I worked with Hmong people in the Twin Cities, or when I worked with at-risk youth in St. Paul, or whoever it was I was working with, the question always was, what's important to you? What matters to you? And then after kind of sifting through things and really coming down to something that really matters, that's really important, being able to say to them, you can tell people about that. We can find a way for people to understand what's important and why it's important. Working with at-risk kids a lot, I would talk to them, I would ask them, what was the last thing you had an argument with your parents about? What was the last big fight you had with your parents? And they'd go into, I wanted to do this and they wouldn't let me do that, and then I got mad and they got mad, and I said, yeah, and so you stood in the living room and screamed at each other, right? And yeah, that's about it. And then I went out and hung with my friends because they wouldn't listen to me. And my response always was, if we create something and put it on stage about that issue, and we put your parents in the audience and let them watch it, do you know what they'll do? And they would always say, I don't know, they wouldn't pay any attention. I said, no, they'll applaud, and they'll stand up and they'll scream and shout because they didn't know that you had a voice that could tell them that. And to me, that really is a key element to why I think it's valuable for people to learn about that. Not to go on to be an actor necessarily, or a visual artist or filmmaker or anything else, but to let people understand that it's not other people who are creative, it's we who are creative. And when you discover that, then there are all kinds of ways that you can use that in whatever you choose to do in your life.
this is something that I witnessed multiple times in different settings when I would go and work in these programs with my dad. He had this ability, I feel like he could walk into a room and not introduce himself as a storyteller, but everyone would sort of know that that was who he was. I'm not exactly sure how he accomplished that, but there was a way that he had that he was able to get in front of a large group oftentimes of students, you know, young students who were screaming at each other, hitting each other, yelling at each other, talking, and just get up in front of everyone and raise his hands and then lower them. And by the time he had lowered his hands, everyone was silent and ready to listen to his story. And I was just always amazed at that ability to, that ownership of his role as the performer and his ownership over the audience, and sort of not control, but an ability to enrapture, and you know, and I now do this work with this nonprofit and work with students, and I've tried it. It doesn't work as well for me. Maybe eventually I'll get there, but I'm still impressed with that ability to take the space in that way, and I see it when I see him perform in plays as well, and that sort of presence is inspiring.
Thank you. You know, we talked about those gym floors filled with 1st through 5th graders, you know, who all they want to do is wiggle and poke each other and giggle and not pay attention. And to me, it's the power of the story. To watch the audience, the moment that they all focus on the story, the moment at which their imagination meshes with what I'm trying to get to them. I always say that storytelling has 3 elements. It has the story, which exists all by itself, and it's the audience, which is there, and the teller. And the goal is for the teller to get the story to the audience without getting in the way. And at the moment at which this audience grabs the story and I can step out of the way, that to me is the most thrilling thing, to see the eyes of children, particularly this sudden awareness that they understand what's going on and they want to know what happens next. That is, there's nothing like that for me. Yeah, the Twin Cities theater scene is something that people around the country are amazed about. I think that you've met people all over who just can't believe that there is as much theater arts in general as the Twin Cities have. And I've often wondered why that would be. I think that sometimes it comes down to what else do you do in the winter, you know, besides go into a theater and stay warm and watch people perform. But I think there's also something that has been a part of Minnesota's heritage, the creativity that it takes to survive in this winter climate particularly, really pushes people to come up with things to do. And I'm just of a strong belief that community exists when there are arts, and the arts exist when there is community. And I think that in many ways the Twin Cities community has been strong for a long, long time.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the State Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.